Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, for a brief overview of the restoration of the former session hall of the Senate of the Philippines and the history of the National Museum, the Director of the National Museum, Mr. Jeremy Barnes.
His Excellency President Benigno Aquino III, former President Fidel Ramos, members of the Cabinet, Mr. Mayor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. We're gathered here this afternoon in the restored session hall of the Senate of the Philippines, formally inaugurated today on the occasion of our 111th foundation anniversary. In the commemorative program for this event, you will find short essays on the history of the session hall, as well as of this building, the old legislative building, which since the late 1990s has been exclusively occupied by the National Museum, in what actually is a full circle where the histories of both the building and the National Museum have been closely intertwined. What would become the legislative building was originally designed as a component of the Burnham Plan for Manila as the Philippine Library and Museum. This Senate Hall was originally meant to be the main reading room of the library. When plans for the building of the Capitol in Rizal Park were scrapped for economic reasons, this building, then half finished, was appropriated for the legislature and redesigned by Juan Arellano. The museum was instead established at the port area behind the Manila Hotel, so that tourists disembarking from the ocean liners, having checked in at the hotel, could conveniently visit there and view the collections of fine arts and ethnographic artifacts. This was perhaps, Secretary Jimenez, the earliest instance of a designed tourism cluster in the Philippines. Meanwhile, this building was inaugurated in 1926, and Senate President Manuel Quezon presided over the Senate in this hall. During the succeeding years, this chamber and that of the House of Representatives below were the primary venue for the peaceful movement towards Philippine independence from the United States. Even the grand architecture of the building, and especially this hall, lent itself towards this cause. The special envoy of President Calvin Coolidge remarked, somewhat patronizingly, but such was the tone of those days, here from the rostrum, that you have this day consecrated a new home for your deliberations, and your friends across the sea will point with pride to this structure as an index of your material progress. The Constitutional Convention, chaired by Clara M. Recto, took place in the House Session Hall, and the Commonwealth was proclaimed and Manuel Quezon inaugurated as president at the front of the building. During the Japanese occupation, the 1943 Constitution was approved here in this hall. Jose P. Laurel was inaugurated also at the front of the building, and the wartime unicameral National Assembly, headed by your grandfather, Mr. President, Speaker Benigno S. Aquino Sr., held its sessions here until the liberation of the Philippines commenced in late 1944. It was at that time that the collections of the National Museum were brought from the port area to this building for safekeeping and stored down in the basement. Unfortunately, everything was completely destroyed, together with most of the building. By a miracle, however, this core section survived, housing the session halls. Soon after the building was reconstructed and reopened in 1949, many interventions started to be made due to the overcrowding of the building from the fast-growing number of legislators. Here in the Senate Hall, a wooden floor was installed, bisecting the space at the level of the balustrades at the mezzanine. And as the needs of media, communications, and the legislators themselves evolved, many more interventions were made, highly impacting and compromising the original designs and spaces of Juan Arellano. Yet the senators, of course, had other things in mind, focusing on the great issues of the times, not least the preservation of our democracy. Your father, Mr. President, remains well known and loved for his work in this chamber, together with many others who served in the Senate in those days. With the abolition of Congress under martial law, this hall was famously padlocked, and the building renamed Executive House. Prime Minister Cesar Virata, who occupied a corner office on the 4th floor, told me that the Senate chamber was never used in those days, even as parts of the building were occupied by the Sandigan Bayan and the Tanod Bayan. The House chamber below, however, was converted by President Marcos into the main gallery of the National Museum, with Juan Luna's Spoliarium installed there and where it remains to this day. After the restoration of democracy in 1986, the House remained at the Batasan Pambansa in Quezon City while the re-established Senate returned to this building for another decade, where after historic debates such as the decision not to retain the US military bases, it moved, with the prompting of President Ramos, to the GSIS building, thereby allowing the National Museum, which hitherto had occupied only one floor, to take over the entire building that was consequently named for our institution. As such, the building that had originally been designed as a museum was finally given that purpose after 80 years. And being its custodians, we see it as the clear duty of the National Museum to make it as public a building as possible and establish world-class facilities and services in line with the mandate of the agency. In the case of this building, the establishment of the National Art Gallery. At the core of our work here is the imperative of restoring all the heritage aspects of the building and the preservation and promotion of the many associations with the history of our country. In this task, which was finally started only in 2010, there was no better place to commence than this Senate Session Hall, which is surely one of the most glorious chambers, both architecturally and historically, in our country. And it is our great privilege to present the outcome of the 2-year restoration project this afternoon and reintroduce to the Filipino people this extraordinary hall that still echoes and resonates with the voices of so many of the nation's great leaders, patriots, and heroes. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Now we move to a major milestone for the National Museum, which is the ceremonial turnover of the GSIS art collection for public exhibition by the National Museum here at the National Art Gallery. An initial total of less than 87 paintings by national artists and distinguished masters, including Luna's Parisian Life, have been transferred here, and most have been installed in newly refurbished galleries that now comprise the GSIS wing here on the Senate floor of the National Art Gallery. To symbolize this pioneering partnership among the government agencies, GSIS Chairman Daniel Lacson and President and General Manager Robert Vergara will turn over the official catalog of the collection to be witnessed in the presence of all of us by His Excellency the President. Thank you very much, Mr. President and gentlemen. The National Museum is a proud member of the Department of Education family, to which we are attached for budgetary purposes. May I now call on the Secretary of Education, Brother Armin B. Luistro, FSC, to introduce our guest of honor.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, fellow Filipinos, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Benigno S. Aquino III.
Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. President Fidel Valdez Ramos, Secretary Armin Luistro, Secretary Mon Jimenez, Mayor Alfredo Lim, Mr. Ramon Del Rosario, Chairman of the Board of Trustees and other trustees of the National Museum, Mr. Jeremy Barnes, Director of the National Museum, Ms. Maribel Pin, Chairman Daniel Lacson, the GSIS, President Robert Vergara of the GSIS, Board of Trustees of the GSIS, officers and staff of the National Museum, fellow workers of government, honored guests, mga minamahal ko pong kababayan, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. The continuing challenge of history weighs heavily on this place. In this building, the 1935 Constitution was written. Its guarantees of rights and freedoms, as my father reminded us in 1983, represented, and I quote, the most sacred legacies from the Founding Fathers, close quote. 3 of my predecessors were inaugurated on these grounds, marking 3 chapters in our development as a nation, from the Commonwealth to the Second Republic, and then until the transition to the Third Republic. In this old Senate Hall, my grandfather served as Speaker of the wartime National Assembly when our people faced great hardship in the hands of foreign oppressors. It was also here that my father, as a senator, stood his ground and spoke up against strongman rule. And it was here that the Senate, an institution I have belonged to, reconvened when Congress was restored in 1987. In this building, the unbroken record of what makes us Filipino can be found as well. From our earliest artifacts in clay to artistic treasures on canvas, and this room itself are concrete reminders of what Rizal said. And I quote, hopefully correctly, ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. I take great pride in coming here as your president to pay homage to all those who have sacrificed to win and protect our right to exist as a free people. It is fitting, therefore, that we unveil the marker of our old Senate Hall today, a reminder that the enduring flame of history and the many shining examples of the genius of our countrymen served as a guide to one united Filipino nation that moves on the straight path to progress. I'm also here to remind all our countrymen that when we praise Rizal, Bonifacio, and our other heroes, we do so not because the best is already behind us. We do so because they challenge us to build a better future. In this effort, culture and the arts are vital to our national advancement. After all, nothing less than our Constitution commands us to view culture and the arts, our history and natural resources, and those of you who have dedicated your lives to its study, protection, dissemination, and development as national priorities and responsibilities. Our Constitution views culture and the arts not as a luxury, but as a necessity if we are to have a vibrant national life. It is through education, research, and the arts that we can achieve total human liberation and development as a democratic society. Our people deserve better than to have our national heritage treated as an afterthought. Art and culture must be treated as part of a strategy for increasing national competitiveness. Our plan is straightforward and has 3 parts. First, to concentrate our efforts on our core competencies. I am happy to see government institutions working together to achieve efficiency, enabling each other to focus on their core mandates. Excuse me. The decision of the GSIS to entrust its collection of art to the National Museum is an example of this. It gives our people the opportunity to enjoy the marvels of our various heritages, while allowing the GSIS to focus more on its task. Second, we are giving you the means to do your job. The budget increases we have given to our centers of heritage are significant. For the National Archives, from 76 million pesos in 2011, we raised their annual budget to 85 million pesos. For the National Library, we increased their budget by 47 million for 2012, totaling to almost 138 million pesos, which thus helps our lead institutions protect the many national documents they maintain for the benefit of later generations. To ascertain the conservation and protection of our historical sites and to advance scholarship, we gave an almost 100% increase to the budget of the National Historical Institute